The Doctor. In the TARDIS. Next stop, everywhere.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS, ready to celebrate a happy 2021 with my wonderful partner in time, wonderful friend, and guy who gets to watch the Cleveland Browns play in the playoffs for once instead of his Dallas Cowboys, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
I am good, Charles, and I will tell you that is something that as Chris and I were watching football, we're like, hey, at least our boy Charles gets something good out of it. So, yes, it was we had a whole debate on Sunday of the different scenarios, like what would make you more unhappy is if the Cowboys win and and then Philly won, and so, or then you'd make it. But all the different scenarios. So luckily, it worked out that they would have not made it even if they won, and so we get a top 10 draft pick. We'll see what happens. So, but
yes,
we did get a new Doctor Who episode.
Exactly. We got a New Year's special, so not a Christmas special, but,
right?
But it should be a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. And I have a spoiler. I was really happy to see Doctor Who, but I do have a few things to pick about the episode. So I'm curious your take on it.
Well, I don't think it's a perfect episode by any means. So, I'm sure this will come up during our discussion.
Yeah.
But it's January 6th as we're recording this, 2021.
Yes.
Today has been a rather insane day, especially here in America. So I thought it was important that we should try to forget a little bit about this, try to step outside our insanity that is our lives these days for at least maybe an hour or so. And I know a lot of people have expressed to me, especially in this time of COVID and lockdowns and everything, how they kind of appreciate what we do, because it's kind of helped them as we do our little weekly thing to help them get through all this, just for that little tiny moment of escape. So in that spirit, I think this is something we could all need right now. So what better way to kind of chase the monsters away than with the Doctor, right? As far as I'm concerned.
All right.
That's my hill, and I'm going to die on that.
There you go.
So here at episode 213, we're talking at long last, Revolution of the Daleks, the 2021 New Year's Day special, written by Chris Chibnall, directed by Lee Haven Jones, starring, of course, Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor, and in their final episodes, Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien, Tosin Cole as Ryan Sinclair, and continuing on, thankfully, Mandeep Gill as Yasmin Yaz Khan. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting your thoughts. I know this is something that, it's been a long time since we've had a new Doctor Who episode to talk about. So I'm wearing my 13th Doctor shirt in spirit, and I finally got all my fam action figures together.
Nice.
At long last. They finally released them all, so I finally get to put them up in my cheap set decor behind me.
Very nice.
Along, of course, with Jack and one of those bronze Daleks that makes a return in this episode.
Yes, it was a very crowded cast this time.
Yeah, but it's a Christmas special, or at least a New Year's special. So I'm willing, I'm cool with that.
Oh, I am too.
All right. So Jesse, before we get started and doing guest cast and trivia and whatnot, I don't have that much trivia, but because we have a lot to talk about. So I don't want to spend too much time bogged down on trivia, but I did want to get your general thoughts on this special before we get into all that. So what was your thoughts?
So I don't want to say too much because spoilers. Charles has told me in advance what are our topics going to be. So I have specific topics. It was a full day. Linda and I had a full day, watching TV, enjoying each other, and we she went to bed and I started it. So I kind of started this late, and I just was so happy to get new Doctor Who.
Right.
And as our lovely companion Christine talks about, we grade in a curve, and when I give my ratings, it will be at a curve because it's New Who.
Yeah.
And we haven't had New Who in so many months.
Like 9 months or so, yeah.
Yeah, we've gone through all, and they did everything they could this summer and this spring to keep the Who spirit alive with watches and rewatches and tweet-alongs and new short stories and little audio dramas and everything.
Right. And certain Next Stop Everywhere episodes to help you survive the hiatus.
Right.
Yes.
And we are not going to get new Who probably till the fall.
Yes.
Right. That's our best thought. Now, I did see that the showrunner said the moment it's available, we're sending it.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's like, okay, there's not any wait. Like if we finish post-production on Friday and we can put it out that next Monday, we will. And that's my words, not his.
Yeah.
So with that thought, it was almost like a really one of like a favorite soft drink or beer or whiskey that you take out for special occasions, or a meal you really love that you don't eat all the time because you don't want to get tired of it. This was something I treasured and enjoyed a great deal, Charles.
Good.
How about you?
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was, obviously with the hiatus, it's kind of whetted my appetite for New Who. And this one, it's a New Year's special, so it's going to be a little bit more fun. I know, some of the Series 12 episodes, especially the Series 12 finale, The Timeless Children, kind of bogged down in some pretty heavy stuff. And we kind of start off a little bit heavy, but quickly come out of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing because it gave us, it was a nice change of pace. I thought the pacing was a little faster in this one. A lot going on to talk about. Now, I do have some Series 13 news that I want to talk about, but I'm going to save that till after our discussion that comes into play, especially at the very end, because we do get a bonus scene featuring, a brand new companion. So we should talk about that, but I do want to save that until a little bit later.
I did not know that was coming. And so it was a very pleasant surprise for me. I had not seen anything on social media that they were going to go that. So it was a very nice surprise. And yes, I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about, obviously, there. By the way, we do have 4 emails this week. So, like I said, lots to talk about. So we better get started. Guest cast, of course, we had John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness. Don't need to go into his resume. Chris Noth returns as Jack Robertson, who we last saw in Series 11, I believe, in Arachnids in the UK. But he's also been in episodes of The Good Wife, which I believe you watched, Jesse, and
yes.
Sex and the City. And he also voiced Lex Luthor in the Justice League animated movie Crisis on Two Earths.
Yeah.
We have the debut of, and probably last appearance of, Dame Harriet Walter as Jo Patterson, yet another PM that meets her untimely end on Doctor Who. And she previously played the character Beatrice Mapp in the Fifth Doctor, Big Finish Audio, The Boy That Time Forgot. And she's been in some other things, including Star Wars The Force Awakens, Downton Abbey, and she played Clementine Churchill, Winston Churchill's wife, in The Crown not too long ago.
Very nice. We
had Nathan Stewart Jarrett as Leo Rugazi, who gets taken over by Dalek for a good chunk of this episode. He was in the 2020 version of Dracula that was overseen by Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss, and was on the UK series Misfits and Utopia, the UK version of that show. And then we had a very quick cameo, but it was a very nice one, of Sharon D. Clarke as Grace O'Brien.
That was kind of sweet.
During Ryan and Graham's send-off scene.
Yes.
So obviously we'll talk about that a little bit too, I'm sure. Trivia, like I said, I don't have much, but I thought it was worth pointing out that if you're Easter egg hunting in this story, and you're kind of wondering, well, who were all those prisoners that we got glimpses of while the Doctor was in space jail? Well, her fellow prisoners included a weeping angel, who of course the Doctor nicknamed Angela, for obvious reasons, an Ood, who the Doctor nicknamed Bonnie, a Sycorax, who the Doctor nicknamed Clyde, a Pating, who the Doctor nicknamed Tiny, and of course we last saw the Pating in the Saranga conundrum from Series 11. We got a Silent in this one, or did we? I can't quite remember. It's a little vague.
Wasn't that there? I'm going to jump
Yeah.
ahead, but wasn't that quote, "Oh, I forgot you were here," was just so
Perfect.
lovely. It
Yeah.
was just perfect. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and we also had a Gathering Coil that appeared in Jodie Whittaker's first episode, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and a Cyberman, of course, and a Thajarian, who was one of those aliens from Demons of the Punjab, if you remember that story that we talked about from Jodie Whittaker's era. So mostly some Jodie Whittaker era callbacks, understandably, but a few nice, little callbacks, including, I was surprised by the Sycorax turning up and the Silent as well. I thought that was a nice surprise.
It was, very nice. It kind of set the atmosphere right that this is a very dangerous place, that they
Yes.
keep dangerous people there. And so I really liked it.
I want to know how the
Yeah.
Jadoon got their hands on a Weeping Angel.
Yes, or how they,
Or one of the Silents.
yes, how do they keep
Yeah.
that track? Absolutely, yes.
But, it's Doctor Who, and
Yeah.
my advice, as always, is you roll with it.
You roll with it, yes.
Don't overthink it.
Yes.
Lastly, my other last bit of trivia. So the Doctor was reciting the beginning of a bedtime story to herself from memory, which I thought was rather impressive. But hey, it's the Doctor. And, of course, she's reciting the beginning of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone while in prison. That's the UK version of the title. That's here in the States,
Yeah.
It's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Because some reason we couldn't grasp Philosopher's Stone. I don't know why. But she called it a classic, and obviously if you remember your 10th Doctor era, which I'm sure Jesse does, the 10th Doctor previously expressed an admiration for the Harry Potter series and its author, J.K. Rowling, which is a little problematic these days for certain people.
I thought of that, yes. I thought of that.
But way back in the Shakespeare Code.
Yes. And, right, there's also where at this time, and it's hard for us to remember, the series had not finished, and the Doctor talked about, oh, I love the ending. It was great, which to remind us that the greatness of, like, for example, the Doctor doesn't have to wait for the new season of Doctor Who.
Right.
She just jumps in the TARDIS and goes down and sees the new season.
Well, I'm sure the Doctor is one of the people that actually knows the ending of A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yes.
By George R. R. Martin, because
yeah.
either George R. R. Martin or one of his descendants has finally finished that series.
That would be a very funny line to work in, saying, I like the book ending better than I did this TV series.
Yes, it would, wouldn't it?
That would be a very funny line.
I think it would be great. I don't know why somebody hasn't jumped on that by now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we have 4 topics. So like I said, lots to talk about. Topic number 1, I thought we could talk the Doctor, Captain Jack, and hey, they finally meet up at long last, like we told you they would.
Yes.
And let's throw in Yaz as well, because I thought Captain Jack and Yaz had a rather nice scene that we should talk about a little bit. So Jesse, when we start off this episode, we're picking up from the Timeless Children cliffhanger of the Doctor being captured by the Jadoon, thrown in space jail. And we pick up apparently 19 years after the Doctor has been in prison, as we're told. And the Doctor still hasn't escaped. Maybe deliberately. Maybe she's kind of punishing herself, or maybe just needed some time to think, as we're told that she does quite a bit. But eventually she gets out thanks to the help of Captain Jack. And so I want to get your thoughts on what you thought of their reunion, and also what the Doctor has been going through, apparently, and how, even though we don't get a lot of her prison experience in this episode, how do you think that might be, how do you think that having those 19 years having all that time to consider and think about her own identity. How do you think that affected her?
So I think we'll see if it affects her. I do think it's interesting. And, I have been, I am not unhappy with the story direction they're taking. What I was unhappy with is the way they executed, that they make it like it's the wildest thing ever, and I went meh. And I also don't think that those two episodes, like the whole Irish thing, there was enough payoff.
Yeah.
However, not to rehash, but the idea of her core being changing is fascinating.
Her identity, her how
identity.
she views her own identity.
Like all of a sudden, and this is going to come across poorly, but you found out all of a sudden you're not Irish.
Yeah.
You're of Yugoslavian descent.
Yeah.
And
it's going to affect you because you're going to have an identity crisis because you're basically going, I'm not who I thought I was.
Yes.
And you're questioning yourself, and you question everything you do as a result.
Yeah, and the idea, you already have all these lives that you have to remember, and now that you learn there is a whole nother set of lives that you don't remember. I remember once, Charles, my parents were telling me a story that I had the mumps.
Yeah.
And that the mumps started spreading down to my chest, and they were worried that it was going to go, sometimes the mumps can go down to other parts of your body.
Right.
And I'm staring at them going, I don't remember that. Oh yeah, it happened. I'm like, wait, how can I not remember something that significant that happened to me?
Yeah.
But I didn't. And so I think that was beautiful that they addressed that. I also think just like they did a great job, and we're going to mix our metaphors here. I remember when, I believe it was Mark Waid who started writing The Flash, and you'll correct me if it wasn't, but where they showed 7 panels of him watching a 10-second burrito, right?
Yeah.
It showed how long that is to him.
Yes.
This, I think, shows how short this amount of time is to the doctor. The doctor thinks of long, so 19 years is not long for her.
No.
And she's thinking about this.
It's like a timeout, basically. It's just kind of like, I'm going to take a sabbatical for about a week or two.
I'm sure you never do this working from home.
Right.
But in the past, when I worked from home every once in a while, around 2 o'clock, I'd go sneak in a nap.
Yeah.
My phone on me, if they need me, they'll get me, and I'll get a 30, 45-minute, hour nap in.
For the record, I'm always at work at all times.
I bet you are, Charles. So I
for anybody listening.
Yes.
Yes.
So I agree with you. I think that was them addressing that. I think it's wonderful. I want to hear your thoughts, but I first got to tell you, if you had given me the beginning of the Doctor going to when Jack and her break out, and that in the episode, I got to tell you, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much I loved that whole sequence. It was great seeing Jack interact with her.
So you like their reunion?
I love their reunion. I love the banter. Did you get work? Did you get work done? What? You're one to talk.
Yeah.
You never change.
And those were resets because remember the 10th Doctor had said the very same thing to Jack in Utopia, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
And the idea of him staying that long to rescue her, they only did it twice, but I love the monotony of you get the crappy brownie type food that's your nutrition. I mean, I was thinking of the world's worst power bar, right? That just there's no taste, nothing.
Yeah.
Her keeping track of the days, saying hello to the lights. I mean, doing that. The monotony.
Yeah.
Was, I just think, really well done. And just seeing Jack made me smile. I just love seeing it. So how about you, Charles?
Well, one of the great things about John Barrowman, obviously, is he is so enthusiastic about Doctor Who. You only have to follow him on Facebook or Twitter to appreciate how much he really enjoys that and how happy he is to finally be back on the show after all these years later. I don't know why that didn't happen during the Stephen Moffat era. Maybe there was some friction there behind the scenes. We don't know. I'm just speculating, but finally he's back on the show. And, and obviously he'd done other things in the meantime and still continues to do other things, but, he seems very happy to be back. And it comes through in his performance, I think.
Totally agree, Charles.
Because, he seems like, it's like Jack had never left. There's that great, exuberance, that cockiness, the little bit of flamboyance, but it's so fun to watch him. And when he's paired up with the Doctor, no matter what the Doctor, it seems, whether it's Eccleston, Tennant, or now Jodie Whittaker, he seems to have that chemistry with them. And maybe in this case it's a little different because, well, now the Doctor's female, but Jack doesn't view it that way. Jack just thinks it's kind of cute and moves on.
Yeah, and it truly is. I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
But it is almost as if we just did a discussion about the Husbands of River song.
Right.
And when River truly looked at the Doctor, she saw him. And I think in this case, Jack sees the Doctor, whatever the core being of that Doctor is, whether it's their aura, whether it's the internal self, and just the different regenerations are like a changing of clothes to him.
Yeah. The exterior doesn't matter. It's what's inside that counts.
Yeah.
Something I think a lot of Doctor Who fans might appreciate.
Yes,
you would think, right?
I loved him, and yes, there are a list of things that we talk about, and this may be an episode we should do sometime to list our top 5 regrets in the Doctor Who universe. And Eccleston only getting one season would be on my list, and Jack never meeting River Song on the show would be another one of my lists. I just think it's a shame they never got to interact, and I am so happy that he got to see that we see him back. We see him in all his glory,
right.
His excitement, his charming, his rogueness, and he is truly one of my favorite characters. And to see him back and played well, I don't know. I think you've mentioned you've been able to go to conventions and hear Barrowman talk.
I've met him, and Lori and I got his autograph.
Yeah.
So.
And he is everything you want in a guest. He does. Just when he answers questions.
If you have the chance to go to a John Barrowman panel discussion, go. I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care what you're doing. I don't care who's involved. You need to stop whatever it is you're doing and go to that panel if you have the chance.
There are no wiser words spoken, Charles. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely worth your valuable time. Trust me on this.
I agree.
Now, as far as the Doctor goes, my only nitpick with the Doctor being in prison, well, there's actually I have 2 minor nitpicks.
Okay.
They're not deal breakers, but the Doctor spending 19 years in prison kind of bugged me because it's the Doctor. The Doctor, as we've known for years, watching various seasons, old and new of Doctor Who, the Doctor gets incarcerated quite a bit, and the Doctor has the ability to, or at least has quite a considerable experience in getting out of those rather awkward predicaments of being incarcerated. So I find it a little troubling that the Doctor here isn't able to break out of this particular prison. Now, granted, maybe it's like Supermax prison, because, hey, you've got some pretty heavy hitters. You've got a Weeping Angel. You've got you've got a Silent in there, a Sycorax and others. So I get that, okay, maybe this is like the worst of the worst as far as space jails go, but I still have to think the Doctor would have figured out a solution to get out of there on her
So
own without needing Jack's help.
yeah, so my hand wave is she didn't want to.
And I agree with that. That's
yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking because of having that identity crisis
Yes.
and needing that time to think, or at least, having that bit of self-doubt
Hmm.
that maybe she wasn't thinking of a solution. She was more focused on trying to figure out, what the deal is and why can't I remember all these other lives, what happened.
So here's a story that was not on anyone's bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching the Iron Man race in Hawaii.
Okay.
And
how bad did Tony Stark won, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And so this was years ago, and there was two competitors got a penalty. So they had to, when they went from the bike to the run, there was a 5-minute time penalty. So they had to sit at the transition and they couldn't start the run.
Yeah.
There were two competitors. One of them said the whole time, is it over yet? Is it over yet? And just kept churning and churning. The other one said in the interview, whenever I train, I usually take a 5 to 10 minute break between when I get off my bike and I start running. So I just put myself in, you're just training. And so I took the 5 minutes and I just sat and I drank a little something extra, and I got myself mentally prepared for the next race. And I thought that story has stuck to me because I think that's a true thing of the world, right? When something gives you like that, there's two chances. You can either flow with it or you can try to fight it. I think the Doctor is saying, okay, I'm here anyway. I've got a lot to think about. So I'm just going to sit here and kind of work through this. And when I'm ready to get out, I'll get out. And when Jack shows up, she's like, okay, I guess I've done enough thinking, and oh, by the way, this will be kind of fun to see my old friend Jack and get out. At least that's in my mind how I would write it.
Right. And I agree with you because I do think the Doctor needed some time to think. But, she also did make this one comment, though, of you've got, come on, Doctor, you've got people counting on you that need you. So she was aware that she needed to get back, but for whatever reason wasn't doing that.
And you wonder if the Doctor, because of the timey-wimey nature of things, and they don't always do things in the right order, right? So she has the confidence. Like I remember once saying, someone said, you're a procrastinator, but you have enough confidence in your ability that you can wait to the last minute and still meet the deadline, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if she has enough confidence in herself that because of the TARDIS and because of her, she can go and save the day, not necessarily in the right order. So, because I thought about that too, that 19 years of not helping the universe is a long time.
Yeah.
But, because of the TARDIS, she comes back and she's only been gone 10 months.
Yeah. Obviously it's still a bit of a long time as far as her companions are concerned.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that. Might as well talk about Yaz while we're at it on that related note. So one of the things I thought we should talk about, there's a great little conversation that Yaz has with Jack, because once we catch back up with Yaz, as we find out, Yaz is pretty obsessed with the Doctor and finding out where the Doctor went, to the point where Yaz is sleeping in that makeshift, that other TARDIS, and she's got basically got her murder board of like charts and graphs, and you kind of expect her to have yarn everywhere and kind of being all conspiracy theory guy, but so when Ryan and Graham show up, she seems very like I said, very driven, very like all she can think about. She's not thinking about her life. We still have no idea what her status is as a cop. We don't get any of that kind of an
No.
update in this story. We just get the feeling that, well, hey, she let her job go by the wayside, and she's just hanging out in the TARDIS all day, trying to figure out where the Doctor is.
A few episodes ago, we talked about, Rose being gone so long,
Yeah.
right? And how that gap and how upsetting it was for Jackie. I think this was interesting, and I had not thought about her job with the police department, and so that's a really good point. Because we've often wondered, like, how does she keep that job, right?
Yeah.
How does anyone who is a companion, who goes back and forth traveling, how do they have any normal life?
No, and it's been 10 months, so if this is something that just she started doing recently, that would be one thing. But we have no idea. We weren't told this. We don't know if she's been doing this for the past 10 months, 10 weeks, or 10 hours.
Yeah, and it does seem that in a lot of ways this is an unhealthy obsession with the Doctor. And
I'd argue she's the most obsessed companion about the Doctor since Rose Tyler.
I agree, and I do think you mentioned that great conversation she has with Jack, right?
Yeah.
Where he talks about that and shares a little bit.
Yeah. I think you're talking about where Jack talks about how they were, like it's not up to the companion to decide when they want to leave. It's usually the Doctor is the one who determines how, when their time is up.
Yeah,
and so you kind of have to enjoy what you have while you have it.
Yeah, it's almost that they are the alpha in the relationship, and you're going to only be around as long as the Doctor chooses to be that. It is a little.
That's not always the case, though. There are companions that leave voluntarily.
Yes, they are, and in fact, I think we have a perfect example of these. In this
this episode. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm a little worried about her, and I hope they address that.
Yeah.
My fear is they're going to play her as a little jealous of the new companion.
Right.
And because it was used to there was the fam.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we have a new person, and like, oh, who the heck are you, and why are you, getting involved in this?
I kind of cracked wise about this in my blog post about the new companion, because here's Yaz, and thinking that, well, okay, Graham and Ryan are gone, I've got the Doctor all to myself now, and then all of a sudden, well, hey, here's a new companion coming up, so I guess you don't have the Doctor all to yourself like you thought you did. And I think you're right. There may be some jealousy.
Yeah,
in that,
I think
in that
there
regard.
might be. Yeah.
But I don't think it's a healthy obsession right now.
I don't think it's a healthy obsession at all, Charles. I agree with you. I think that's something we should worry about as this character.
Yeah.
And to see.
I think it's something to watch as whenever we get season 13.
I agree. I totally agree.
All right. Anything else about the Doctor, Jack, and Yaz? Now, we could maybe talk about the Doctor, because I thought the Doctor had a really great conversation with Ryan, while Jack is having this great conversation with Yaz.
Yes.
So we could probably save that when we talk about Ryan,
okay.
or we could talk about it now. It's up to you. I don't care.
No, I think let's wait for that. It is good to see the Doctor back, her taking control and being smart, and I do think that we'll talk about when you get to news, right? But there was a lovely outpouring of support for Jodie this week as we record this, which was nice to see.
It was. Now, one thing, before we switch topics, we get a little bit of a tease at the very end of the episode where Jack leaves, presumably to go catch up with Gwen Cooper. Now, there wasn't a big goodbye scene to Jack like there was with Graham and Ryan. I'd argue that that was probably intentional, because I get the feeling that this isn't the final appearance of Jack on Doctor Who. So
They can't see me. I'm putting my hands together with like in a gesture of prayer.
yeah,
I would love to see Gwen
I
and
did.
Jack
Yeah,
in an episode. And I know we're only getting 8 episodes,
yeah.
so but oh, would that just be so good? I mean, I want another Torchwood series, but at least having them kind of be on the new season would just be amazing.
Well, and I think it's entirely possible. Maybe we'll see Jack and Gwen in the series 13 finale. How's that?
Let's put it down.
How's that for speculation?
I love it.
I don't know I have no idea if it's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did.
That would be really nice, wouldn't it? That would be, gosh, that'd be awesome.
Because I don't think we're getting, there hasn't been any indication that we're getting a new Torchwood series. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
No, I love it. I think it would be great. I think it fits in.
Because I know you're a Torchwood guy.
Yeah, and it's so Barrowman just slips into that role so quickly.
Yeah.
And just I mean, when they're talking during the escape, and he's like, "Well, I had to commit a few crimes." Well, like, what kind of crimes? Oh, don't worry. And he is definitely a rogue, and we love him.
Yeah, and I'm sure you would love to see him again. Obviously.
Oh, I would. It would make me nothing but happy. Yes.
All right. So fingers crossed. Maybe that'll happen. All right, topic number 2. Let's talk about Graham and Ryan, our departing companions. So we go from 4 in the TARDIS to 2 in the TARDIS, at least until the next episode, whenever that is. But these two, who have been with the 13th Doctor ever since her very first episode, the woman who fell to Earth, say their goodbyes. And Graham, in particular, isn't quite ready to go. He's kind of cool with the idea of staying aboard the TARDIS, but Ryan, and this is something that was already kind of teased and hinted at in Series 12, if you recall, that he was having his doubts because of when he was on Earth and catching up with his friends and realizing how much they needed him, and kind of hinting to Yaz behind the scenes that, well, maybe he doesn't want to keep traveling. And so now, finally, here in this episode, Revolution of the Daleks, we get that payoff. And Ryan kind of says, nope, I had my traveling. It was nice. That's it. I'm done. I want to look out for Earth for a while.
Charles,
what did you think of that?
No, you're spot on. I remember I could never imagine not enjoying traveling. And then I got a job where I didn't travel every week, but I was traveling more than, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a year, right?
Right.
And sometimes over a very quick period. And I'd go, I'm kind of tired of traveling. And you just can't imagine that if you've never traveled, right? You're like, oh, that'd be great. Like flying and living in a hotel room.
Especially if you're traveling through space and time in the TARDIS,
yes,
right?
Exactly. But I like the idea that he's, I've had my fun and now it's time to go to the next phase of my life. What's going to be my next chapter? And so I think that's a really mature decision. I think it shows how well he's grown as a character in the series.
Because when we first met him, he didn't really seem to have much of a direction.
Right.
And now he's kind of realized that, hey, planet Earth needs looking after. And that's what I want to do with my life.
And I also love the fact that even though the Doctor calls them fam, they weren't fam to begin with. And she, don't call me, you're not my granddad.
Yeah, Graham and Ryan have come obviously a long way since the woman who fell to Earth.
And for Graham to go,
although Ryan still did not fist bump him here. He only fist bumped him the one time. But he left Graham hanging yet again in this episode.
But for Graham to sit there and go, as much as I want to go see all this excitement, maybe I need to be here watching my grandson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a very touching moment. I love that idea. And
Ryan's kind of like, no, you don't really need to be watching me.
Yeah. But he's like, yeah, I'm going to. And, and how come to circle, right?
Yeah.
That the first time we see him, he's trying to ride a bike. And this time he's trying to ride a bike. And Graham is supportive and like, oh, look how much further you've gone.
Yeah.
Look what you've done. What can we do? And you're right. We get that great cameo of,
Grace. Yeah.
Grace looking over both of them, kind of as a protective angel, kind of loving them.
And, Graham's kind of like, did you see something? And Ryan just like, something in me eye, yeah.
Yes.
Trying to play it off, but.
And I'm kind of sad we're losing the companions, though I do know that is the nature of this series, right? You lose companions, you come back.
The central theme of this show is change and how you adapt to it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And and thankfully Graham didn't get the return of his cancer like I was fearing.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, I'm glad too.
Yeah, so I'm glad that wasn't the case. Because obviously we want Graham to be around, and it's kind of nice. I find it kind of reassuring that now that the doctor at the end of the episode gives a couple of pieces of psychic paper to Ryan and Graham as parting gifts, which the companions hardly ever get.
Right.
And so they get, like, oh, hey, here's thanks for traveling with me. Here's some psychic paper to play the home game. And already Ryan is thinking, well, yeah, I keep hearing about like trolls and all this other stuff. And so it's like, essentially they're kind of going to do the Sarah Jane thing and kind of investigate, odd things on Earth.
The only thing else that could have been is if she had helped them win the lottery, so they would have the money to support this endeavor.
Yeah, you would think, right?
Yeah, but it was really nice. And I thought of, boy, Sam and Dean Winchester could use psychic paper as they're traveling around being FBI agents or, Department of Sanitation or whatever the different fake IDs they have. It would be a lot easier if they had psychic paper. I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was a nice way to end, like, that.
So you were satisfied with their exit?
You and I and other fans can think of those two having adventures. And this also kind of leaves the door open that if Big Finish Audio says, hey, guys, you want to make a few bucks, you want to have some fun, we can do a 3 or 4, we can do a season of 4 episodes, in 2 weeks you can record the dialogue and we can have that. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, or if they ever want to bring Ryan and Graham back on the show, they could do that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, and hey, I would have no problem with a big journey to the end of time, right? Like where we get everyone back at the end of the season this year.
But I was happy with their exits. I thought it was a very old school exit for companions. I thought, there wasn't like, oh, Graham and Ryan were, locked away in a parallel Earth. They weren't, they didn't have their memory wiped. They weren't lost in time. That stuck there for whatever reason. That
they didn't die and traveling in a diner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So
locked in a Cyberman body.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't turned into Cybermen. They just left the show, and I found that very comforting.
Right there with you, Charles. I know I keep saying
no contrived exit. They just left.
It was like, okay, there, and that makes sense. It makes sense that I know people say, "Oh, I would never stop traveling in the TARDIS if I had the chance," but the reality is, you don't know.
No.
And so I think
you might be tired of like Daleks and Cybermen trying to kill you after a while.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
That might get a little old after a while.
Yes, indeed, yes.
But like Jack said, it's worth the pain. The joy is worth the pain, right?
Totally agree.
All right. Anything else about Graham and Ryan before we move on?
Can't think of anything else.
All right. Topic number 3, and this can be a quick topic. Let's talk about Jack Robertson. our pseudo Donald Trump parable, or at least kind of metaphor in this episode.
Yes.
Joe Patterson, the latest in an increasingly long line of British prime ministers that meet their end on Doctor Who. And we can also throw in Jack's little hench guy, Leo Rugazi, who gets taken over, and he's the latest to be test-driven by a Dalek.
So first off, the creators of Lost were being accused of having daddy issues.
Right.
There was always somebody had issues with their father on Lost, right?
Yes.
I might argue that the showrunners of Doctor Who have prime minister issues, you know?
Right. Well, Russell T. Davies certainly had mother issues because
yes.
all of his companions' mothers were harpies.
Yes.
Just saying.
I love this universe's Lex Luthor. I'm going to say Lex Luthor instead of Donald Trump, but
okay.
yes, the same thing, right? This, he is.
I don't think he's smart enough to be Lex Luthor, though.
Well, good point. But he has that persona, you know, that the modern Luthor was a businessman, right?
He's more Otis, as far as I'm concerned, than he is Lex Luthor.
That's actually spot on, which means even more why he's Trumpish.
Yes.
I love the actor. I love
Chris
the
Noth,
way he embraced the role. I was so glad to see him back. I love when we have a reoccurring, you know, character and a villain. It just adds depth to the universe. It was great to see him. And
he doesn't. He still doesn't get what's coming to him by the end of this episode.
No, he doesn't. No, he's in fact
he fails upward.
He does fail upwards. He is set, like, you know, his approval numbers are up because he played it perfect. You know, even after all he did.
Yeah. He sold out the Doctor to the Daleks like you knew he would. And he, you know, he doesn't die. He gets rewarded for it. He gets, you know, all that bad PR that he was all worried about once he found out that his assistant Leo was making Daleks on the side.
Yes.
You know, that turned into a win for him.
Yes.
So when does Jack Robertson get his? That's what I want to know.
You know, and I think maybe that's part of the joy is he never does. You know, he just is just.
It's not joy for me. I want him to get punished.
You know, sometime he just doesn't. He's just so despicable, and yet he gets to survive. I just think that's hilarious. It is just, I love the character. I love the way he is like, oh yeah, we can shoot up production, you know, and the whole way him and the prime minister were all sleazy together.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you're going to let me have all this for free because we're going to be your perfect commercial. And,
they got their little side deals in the woods that they're making. And, you know, that, Jack had staged this fake riot to test out the defense drones and use that to sell them. And so there's all this shadiness going on. Joe Patterson, the new PM, you know, like presents the Daleks, only she doesn't know that they're Daleks. So she just calls them defense drones.
Yes.
And one of the questions I had going into this episode was, well, why doesn't the British public remember the Daleks from before? You know, because they were in Victory of the Daleks where the government had, in World War II, had used them, and then they were, you know, in the Stolen Earth, Journey's End, attacking the country. So the question is why, and I thought about this a little bit, and I thought, well, I remembered, you know, the Matt Smith era story, the Big Bang, where the universe was reset.
Yeah.
So I kind of wondered, well, maybe Chris Chibnall thinks that, well, because of the Big Bang, nobody remembers. Like maybe that Dalek invasion of Earth during the Stolen Earth never happened in this new timeline. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's as good a reason as any. My thought, and I think I've mentioned this before, right? Like on the A team, everyone shoots and no one gets shot, and
Right.
bullet never hits
It's
them.
Doctor Who. You're rolling with
Maybe
it, right?
maybe this is just the rule in Doctor Who
Yeah.
that no one,
No one remembers the Daleks every time they invade.
well, like on The Simpsons, right? Like,
Yeah.
Smithers, who is that guy? Oh, Mr. Burns. It's Homer Simpson. Who?
Yes.
And remember, there was that great episode where Smithers mentions all these adventures, and
Yes.
Burns is like, doesn't ring a bell,
Yeah.
So maybe that's
his
it.
baby shot you, Mr. Burns. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh no. So I don't know. It was. I was hoping that they would address that somehow.
Yeah.
But I think it is just, as you said, it's Doctor Who, we're rolling with it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about these characters? Do you think of anything about Leo or anything? Or
No. I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of understood. When we get to Daleks, I have a few criticisms.
Okay. All right.
But I hope North comes back. I think he's a great villain. He's got just enough evil, but also enough, humor and kind of. You're right. I mean,
They kind of keep teasing in that presidential run. I'm just saying.
Absolutely, yes. So that's kind of fun.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Last topic. Topic number 4. Let's talk. Of course, our big bads, the Daleks. Saving the worst for last, I guess. But one of the things I like about the Daleks under Chibnall, he's managed to make them scary again. If they were ever scary, like, he's turned them, by getting them out of their casings and having them jump on people's backs and take them over. I think they're far creepier than they ever were, just kind of moving around and exterminating people. So, with the possible exception of that great Christopher Eccleston era story Dalek.
Yeah.
But where it seems like, we talked about this when we talked Resolution, way back, a year ago, that one Dalek seems to be scarier than a bunch of Daleks.
Yeah.
And when Jack and Yaz are in that Dalek, that clone Dalek facility, and the Daleks are like climbing out of their little vats and jumping on them like spiders from above. I love that.
Yeah. My problem, and yes, I agree with that. I love the idea, where, that, and that's happened in science fiction a lot, where you have, the body is and there's someone controlling them.
Yeah.
My issue is I feel like this is a recycled plot.
Yeah.
That, okay, crazy businessman wants to use the Daleks. We don't know that they're going to be. I just feel like they've gone this route a little too often.
Okay.
And it was a minor quibble. I love the idea of the Daleks coming in to clean up the Daleks, right?
Yeah.
That these are, the SS Daleks because they're only into purity, and having that going, I thought that was a great twist.
The Death Squad of Daleks.
Yeah, Death Squad.
So on that note, I don't want to stop you, but I do want to kind of like get this in its proper context. So as far as you're concerned, you were okay with the Doctor's plan to use the nastier Daleks to get rid of the drone Daleks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect plan, but it's a decent plan.
Okay.
Right? The enemy of my enemy, or so I'm going to use this.
But then you have to get rid of the bigger enemy.
Right. Yeah, where you're hoping they would just go away, right?
Right?
You're gambling.
Right.
Yeah, so I was okay with that. My issue was just the idea. It seems like we've done that. Okay, well, because Winston Churchill was going to use the Daleks to protect things. Okay, we've seen this before.
Right.
The Christopher Eccleston, the rich guy.
Yeah.
The collector.
The collector.
Okay. The rich guy. We haven't do that. We've had. It just seems like this has been
kind of recycled from various stories.
just a little bit,
Yeah.
Charles.
Like
am
I'm going to pick a little bit from this story. I'm going to pick a little bit from this story.
am I being overly critical?
No, I mean I get where you're coming from, and I think there's some merit there.
Okay.
But this. I mean, it's kind of, it's very hard, I think, to tell an original Dalek story because there's been so many stories told.
I think that is true, Charles, and I know
And that's why I try to focus, that's why my attention was focused more on Chibnall's Daleks are scarier than, say, Stephen Moffat's Daleks
yes,
or Russell T Davies' Daleks. And that's why I thought, okay, that's the spin. That's what Chibnall brings to the table here.
well, you're right, because the one clone Dalek taking over that scientist,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways is scarier than the Dalek Senate that we see. When we see all the different Daleks, when
in Asylum of the Daleks,
Asylum of the Daleks, right?
Yeah.
Because you're right. I think one Dalek can be scarier. And I like.
And I thought that was a pretty creepy scene where
Yeah.
Leo's having to say goodbye to his family or whatever, his wife or whomever, his partner, and and there's that tear because he can't stop the Dalek from putting words in his mouth.
Yes, very well done, and I like that a lot.
I like that too, and I think that deserves some attention.
Oh,
so,
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of my quibbles about this, the way the Doctor resolves this situation, not just getting like a nastier group of Daleks to kill these Daleks, which is something that has been done before in Doctor Who, because the Daleks are all about purity. They're space Nazis. And the show has never shied away from that. It has been very obvious from the get-go that Daleks are a metaphor for the Nazis. So that made sense. But my problem was that the Doctor sacrifices a TARDIS, the other TARDIS, to get rid of the Daleks. Essentially has the other TARDIS collapse on itself as it, goes into the void and therefore trapping them inside, a crumpled up TARDIS inside the void. And my problem with this is that after a great episode like The Doctor's Wife, one of our favorites, and that we've gone on record for, that's pretty much in I'd say our top 10 at least, right?
Absolutely.
That we know that TARDISes are alive. And I had to wonder, well, what does the Doctor's TARDIS think of the Doctor killing another TARDIS?
Ooh, Charles. Now, see, I wasn't thinking about the TARDIS being alive.
Right.
What I was thinking is we've established that, at least for now, everyone in Gallifrey is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now we may do something timey-wimey because Gallifrey has been dead before.
Right.
No,
I get the Doctor's in a pretty bad place right now.
Yes, I get that.
But it is the Daleks, so all that the Doctor could think about is well, how do I get rid of them? But it does seem you would think the Doctor would know better.
Why would you throw away a perfectly good TARDIS?
Yeah.
Right? Like the line in Casablanca, why are you throwing away perfectly good women? When you may need that. Mm-hmm. They may be scarce someday.
Right.
The TARDISes are scarce. So that was my thought. But now when you throw in the TARDIS,
what does Sexy think about this?
Yeah, and and once again, you could fix this very well by saying the essence of the other TARDIS was brought into the Doctor's TARDIS.
Hopefully.
Right? Yeah, we
hopefully,
brought
but then there would be two essences in the Doctor's TARDIS. So
it could be in a storage container. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully, but
but
I don't think that's ever going to get addressed. So I don't know.
No, I don't think so, and I think
it's just something that stuck out to me.
No, I think that is brilliant, Charles, because I think most of us were looking like me. Oh, what a clever way to drop them in a box and basically trash compact it down to this, and then boop, they're gone.
Yeah. Now, it looked really cool because Here's the doctor. There was a great shot of the doctor standing in the doorway of her TARDIS as it's hovering above the city. And the Daleks are, swirling around. And I thought that was a beautiful shot. And then you see the Daleks kind of all get funneled through the TARDIS, entranceway. You notice both doors were open so that could get them inside. And, they just all kind of funnel right in there, and then that's it. Because, it's the doctor pulled a fast one and made the bonus TARDIS look like her TARDIS.
Yes, it was a great shot. But now that I'm, okay, listeners, any got theories for us?
Yeah.
That is.
Is the doctor guilty of TARDISide?
I think he is. She is. Yes.
Yeah, maybe she needs to go back to space jail.
Exactly. There you go.
All right. So just something I was kind of wondering about.
No, that's perfect.
All right. So I don't want to hear any, talk of that. We don't, we don't just gloss over everything and try to sugarcoat it.
No, we don't.
We don't. We try to focus on that stuff.
Yeah.
We try to be fair and state our opinions. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else about this episode? Like I said, I know there was a lot going on. I want to make sure we covered everything that you wanted to cover.
It was good to have new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
What's funny, we've talked about this a lot. My new friend at work is he just finished Matt Smith's run, loved the 50th anniversary, and he says, Capaldi starts out with a dinosaur in London. I love this. So he is, every few days he comes and tells me how it's going.
Yeah.
And he watched the first half of the New Year's special, and then he said, I feel like I'm starting to get into some spoiler territory. So he ended up turning it off because he wanted to enjoy that journey.
Right.
But he liked seeing Jodie. And he had the whole, and so when we're talking about news, I have a couple questions for you about that. But no, I love the series. It was great seeing Captain Jack, a great villain, just good stuff.
Yeah. And on a side note, since you brought that up, my wife Lori has officially confirmed for herself now that Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor is her second favorite Doctor after David Tennant.
There you go.
So there you go.
That's good. That's very nice.
Because after watching the recent BBC America Doctor Who marathon, and going through those, she's decided that 13 is her second favorite. So
yeah.
All right. So favorite quotes. What are your favorite quotes of this episode?
So
thought there were some good lines.
There were some good lines. First off, I love how Captain Jack really is a little shine to Graham. When he says, hello, Silver Fox.
Yep.
And Graham, not comfortable with that at all.
Yeah.
Hello?
Which is why Jack says it.
Yes, it is. Yeah. The doctor saying, you can't eat the cage. Believe me, I've tried.
That's one of my favorite quotes. I like that.
Yes. And
to Pating.
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my last one, and I want you to give a couple, is Yaz says, thanks. And Jack goes, thanks? That's it? And Yaz, are you feeling insecure? Because you seem to need a lot of praise. And Jack, do I? I just love, he interacts with everyone. It's wonderful.
And that's one of the great things about Jack's character is that, he has that great chemistry with just about every character.
Yes, absolutely. What, you got a couple?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Jack talking to the doctor while they're in prison going, I heard you were in here, so I committed a few crimes. Maybe a lot of crimes. Maybe more than I should have. And the doctor, of course, is like, what sort of crimes? And Jack replies, you're going to take the moral high ground when I'm breaking you out of prison? Be grateful.
That was a great line.
I thought that was good. Jack talking to Yaz in that very poignant scene that they shared. Hey, when I was with the doctor, I saw more than I ever could have dreamed. And then we lost each other. I don't know what happened to him. If he was alive or if I was ever going to see him again. Hard way to live. Being with the doctor, you don't get to choose when it stops. whether you leave her or she leaves you.
Great line.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Well written.
And maybe for some foreshadowing for Yaz.
Yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
See. We'll see what
I agree.
happens. And let's see, a third quote. Let's see. I thought this was rather nice, since we're on the subject of these great exchanges. The Doctor and Ryan. The Doctor, and I love that Ryan got the Doctor to finally open up a little bit, which the Doctor never does. So points to Ryan in this final episode for getting the Doctor to talk a little bit about herself for once. The Doctor says, "I'm not who I thought I was, Ryan. What I always knew to be the story of my life isn't true. I wasn't born on Gallifrey. Where I'm from, all the lies I've lived, some of that has been hidden from me, and I don't even know how much." And Ryan replies, "Things change all the time, and they should, because they have to. Same with people. Sometimes we get a bit scared, because new can be a bit scary, right?" And I think that's very profound.
I think that's very profound. And
Sometimes,
very well said.
New can be a bit scary.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, I think I don't know if that was directed at Doctor Who fans or not, but, a lot of people sometimes have problems with the new. They're afraid of it. They want to go back to what comforts them.
Right.
And so I thought that was a pretty profound quote.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you got that one. Yes.
All right, so that was one of my favorites. Okay, episode rating. So what's your rating for this one?
I thought
you
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Because you didn't do it. The Doctor and 3 very special people I've missed in Captain Jack. One of them was me, right? The Doctor, you never change. And Captain Jack, wish I could stay the same.
Yeah.
That was, there is so much humor.
And of course, Ryan, hey, you're getting over me quick enough. And the Doctor adds 2 hearts, one happy, one sad.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So rating, what's your rating?
So, I'm sorry. I know I'm talking about Daleks and recycled, but Charles, I'm giving it 9 out of 10 breakout balls.
Ooh.
I love this episode.
Yeah. Or as Jack liked to call them, temporal freezing gateway disinhibitor bubbles.
Yes.
Or as my wife Lori liked to call it, glowing hamster balls.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
that's what she referred to it. She's like, they're in a hamster ball.
Yes.
So believe it or not, I'm actually a half a point under you.
Wow.
So I'm going 8.5 out of 10 3D printed security drones.
Ah, very nice. Very good. Like I said, and I know this is just a lot of this is a COVID scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe we should have done like, parting gift psychic papers.
Yes, exactly. This year has been so tough, as we talk about, to see new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I'm going to love the new Bruce Springsteen album regardless.
Yeah.
But when in context of when it's coming, it means even more to me. So, yeah, it was so great. And now then, we wait for new episodes. But in the meantime,
we got a lot planned.
You and me and our guest companions are going to keep holding hands and get people through this.
As you probably saw if you follow our Facebook page on Next Stop Everywhere, I've got things planned, or like we've got things planned, I should say, because I confirmed this with Jesse before I released it. We've got things planned all the way out through May.
Yes, we do.
So you guys aren't getting off the hook that easily. We're not.
Exactly.
You're stuck with us, like it or not.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Reverse the polarity. So there's a lot we need to talk about, so I won't go into this too heavily. But so for those wondering, hey, what's a classic episode that I would recommend after watching Revolution of the Daleks? Well, hey, let's go back. Let's go way, way back to 1988 with Remembrance of the Daleks. The first serial of season 25 in 1988, written by Ben Aronovich, who's written some sci-fi novels in the meantime, if you're familiar with him. But yeah, once upon a time he wrote Doctor Who. And this is a Seventh Doctor and Ace story where essentially it was done during Doctor Who's 25th anniversary season. So they
Nice.
go back to 1963, Shoreditch, and meet a military unit led by Group Captain Gilmore and Sergeant Smith that is tracking abnormal local magnetic fluctuations originating mainly from Coal Hill School. Yes, that very same Coal Hill School that Susan went to with Ian and Barbara, and that started the whole thing back with An Unearthly Child in 1963 on Doctor Who. And it turns out there is a transmat device in its basement that's tied to a Dalek ship in geostationary orbit. And there's a second, weaker fluctuation emitted by a gray Dalek in a nearby junkyard. Yeah, I wonder which one. Probably
Yes.
at number 76 Totter's Lane, perhaps. And it turns out that two Dalek factions are present. The Imperial Daleks on the orbiting mothership, controlling the school, and renegade Daleks, who reject the Emperor Dalek's authority, controlling the junkyard. So we have two Dalek factions fighting. And that's obviously the main connection to Revolution of the Daleks. Ultimately, this whole story centers around this device called the Hand of Omega, which we find out is an ancient and very powerful Gallifreyan device that the Doctor hid away while he was on Earth the first time in 1963 during his first incarnation. And there's a big fight between the two Dalek factions to take control of the Hand of Omega, and ultimately ends up with one group of Daleks with the Dalek Emperor, who gets revealed as, you guessed it, Davros. So Davros is back in play, the Daleks creator, Davros, and he plans to destroy the Time Lords with a hand, but the Doctor kind of, mocks him and then tricks him into launching the hand, which ends up causing Scaro's sun to go supernova and destroy Scaro, the home planet of the Daleks. But wait, we saw Scaro later, right? When the new series came back. So it's Doctor Who. You roll with it. Timey-wimey, things happen. And obviously the timeline gets changed somehow, probably during the Time War maybe, and Scaro suddenly back in play in the modern era. But here it gets destroyed and also destroys the mothership. The hand, meanwhile, returns itself to Gallifrey. And, we have the Doctor and Ace at the very end of the episode. They wonder about if whatever, all the stuff that they did during the episode, if that was good. And that's what Ace asks the Doctor, and the Doctor replies, "Time will tell. It always does." So, very cool Sylvester McCoy era episode. That's one of those that we've talked about here on Next Stop Everywhere. So I highly recommend checking that one out.
Good. All right.
Okay, Series 13 news. I thought we should talk about this before we do our feedback.
Okay, sounds good.
So, Series 13 news, we got two big pieces of news this past week. First and foremost, we got word at the very end of Revolution of the Daleks that we saw a bonus scene, so Doctor Who did a post-credit scene introducing actor John Bishop, who's going to be playing new companion named Dan. We don't know what Dan's deal is, but during this bonus post-credit scene, John Bishop, who's 54 years old, by the way, in case you're wondering, and is a bit of a silver fox himself.
He looks younger than that. I would have guessed younger.
Yeah, he's 54, but he's a give a little background on him. He's actually a former footballer. So kind of like Matt Smith was a aspiring footballer, but got injured and then turned to acting. Well, apparently Bishop was a professional footballer that ended up getting into acting and comedy. So, and he's done some other little things like his own various, comedy specials and whatnot over there. That's what he's primarily known for over there. But in the 30-second bonus scene, we saw Dan apparently comes from Liverpool, the hometown of the Beatles, that Liverpool.
Yes.
And We see him loading the back of a van while his unnamed friend reads from his horoscope for the year ahead, saying, quote, surprises are in store for this year. The color blue will be important, and the letter D.
Nice.
Your lucky number's 13. Be prepared for action, and whatever hurdles come your way, just remember it's not the end of the world.
Perfect.
So, couldn't be more on point than that, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So also I thought it was interesting. Apparently, John Bishop was recently revealed that he and his wife had tested positive for COVID-19.
Okay.
This apparently, he got the diagnosis, or at least the test came back over Christmas. So this is pretty recent, but he says that, he was quoted as saying, "This is the worst illness I've ever had. Debilitating headaches, muscle joint, and even skin pain, dizziness, nausea, no appetite, incredibly chronic fatigue. My wife and I are fit non-smokers." Remember, he's a former footballer. So he's probably in really good shape, even at 54. And he says it flattened us. I don't wish this on anyone.
Wow.
So I feel bad for him. Hope he gets better.
Me too.
And obviously we don't know if this diagnosis is going to affect the filming for Series 13 or not. So we'll see. So what did you make of a very quick introduction of John Bishop as Dan?
I thought he looked really young. So I'm as I said, I'm kind of shocked he's that old.
Well, he can't look as old as me, right?
Well, I'm 61, so of course everyone looks young to me.
Right.
But he's.
Well, you don't sound it. How's that?
Thank you. He sounds he is very handsome.
Yes.
He looks good on screen.
He's kind of got like a Superman vibe, doesn't he? A little bit.
He does have a little bit, yeah.
The smile, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I'm really excited about it that we are getting a new companion and the interactions we're going to do that. So
I'm surprised they went with another older guy instead of a younger guy.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like this is Graham 2.0.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, he did not look that older to me.
Yeah.
I did not know anything about him.
Maybe he'd be more physical than Graham was.
Yeah, it could be. It'll be interesting to see. Very, very happy to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And like we said, probably Yaz will be very jealous.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you're going to talk about it right there. The rumor that.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Okay,
that was next.
Go ahead.
That was next. All right. So just to set the table on this, I'm sure a lot of you out there have already heard this rumor, and I want to stress once again, this is a rumor. This is not confirmed.
Yes.
Because the BBC has refused to confirm it.
Right.
You see reports that, well, the BBC refuses to deny. Well, they also refuse to confirm.
Yes.
By that same token. So keep that in mind. So the rumor, for those who may not be aware, the British newspaper The Mirror is claiming that Jodie Whittaker will leave at the end of Series 13. And one unnamed insider mentioned in the article reportedly stated, quote, notice how it's always an unnamed source. Nobody ever goes on the record for this, right?
Right.
So, quote, it's all very hush-hush, but it is known on set that Jodie is leaving and they are gearing up for a regeneration. Her departure is top secret. Apparently not that secret.
Yeah.
But at some point over the coming months, the arrival of the 14th Doctor will need to be filmed. It's very exciting, unquote. And the article also claims that insiders, whoever they are, stated that Jodie Whittaker is, quote, keen to take on other roles, unquote. Meanwhile, the BBC issued the statement regarding the rumors, commenting, quote, we won't be commenting on any speculation around Jodie's future on the show. Now, that is probably in the show's best interest, right? Because, if they don't confirm or deny one way or the other, then it helps keep the spoiler, keep there from being a spoiler for the Series 13 finale, I'm guessing.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe if Jodie doesn't regenerate, then everybody tunes in thinking she's going to regenerate.
Yes.
Or if she does regenerate, then everybody will tune in to see her regenerate. So it's kind of like a win-win either way, as long as they don't say anything.
Exactly.
So what did you make of this news?
So I love the outpouring of love on Twitter. And then if you wanted to go down a negative rabbit hole, it was there. But the majority of people that I saw on social media were just talking about how much they love her and appreciate her being there. Once again, I go obscure, but for the longest time, tradition, American presidents only served 2 terms.
Right.
Because George Washington only served 2 terms. And no one thought you should be president longer than George Washington. And then
FDR
with the Depression.
4. Yeah,
everything with the Depression, World War II.
So then they made it legally too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but for the longest time, that tradition was, and I wonder if there is an unspoken tradition, no one should be the doctor longer than Tom Baker. Right? Like that, it is just this unspoken. And there was the speculation that there is exceptions, but in a lot of ways, 3 years is pretty standard for a doctor.
Yeah.
They go 3, seasons.
Well, let's just for anyone, keeping track. Patrick Troughton did 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Peter Davison did 3 seasons. Because he was essentially saying, well, Patrick Troughton said you should only do 3 seasons. That's the advice he got.
Right.
And then Matt Smith did 3 seasons. Peter Capaldi did 3 seasons. And now apparently Jodie Whittaker, if this is true.
Yeah.
Now, David Tennant did like 3 seasons, but he also did that season of 5 specials, which is essentially a 4th season.
Got it.
And William Hartnell had 3 seasons, but he also did 2 extra ones for the 4th series and was intending on continuing, but his health, they essentially replaced him with Patrick Troughton, as we all know. Mm-hmm. And then Sylvester McCoy did 3 seasons, probably would have done more, but they canceled the show back in 1989.
Yeah.
So that kind of truncated his run.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I get the feeling he probably would have at least done 1 more.
Yeah, but there is if you're doing a median, 3 is about pretty standard of what most people do. And I actually can understand that, even though for us it's a short season, 10 episodes or 12 or 8, it takes a year of their life, and so they're doing this. And I know. When you are the number 1 person on a cast list, you're in almost every scene. If you're the doctor, you are in almost every scene, every episode. Yeah. So I'm sure you do want to stretch other muscles, and it's really beautiful.
Maybe they need to cast an American because American actors are used to 5 seasons, at least.
Maybe so. Yes, maybe so. Boy, talk about the blank hitting the fan.
Oh my God!
Gosh, how bad would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you thought casting a woman doctor was bad? Yeah, Wait, what would happen if they cast an American as the doctor?
So for my case,
so I really hope they do it.
Yes. I really, I would love to see another season of Jodie. But at the same time, the nature of this job, of this show is, and I think someone said that, change.
Yes.
My dear.
Right.
And that is the nature of this business and this show. And so we will, and I think one of the cute things was they showed, on Twitter, they showed Tennant talking to, some talk show. I can't remember the host now. It's like, no, I like that other guy. Tennant talked about how people don't reject change. So yeah, we wish Jodie the best, and I hope whatever she wants to do for her career, she does, because she's #my doctor.
Yeah. Well, again, as we know, it's not confirmed yet, so we don't know for sure.
Right.
But that story is out there, and we thought we should at least address it.
Absolutely. I agree.
And we'll see what happens. All right. So we have a lot of feedback. We have 4, believe it or not. Everybody chiming in on the Revolution of the Daleks. Obviously, it's a big episode, big new episode. Yeah. So we have Hannah Scarappa writing in. So, hi, Hannah. David K. Proctor writing in. Holly Mack, of course. Holly from Wisconsin. Always great to hear from Holly. And last but certainly not least, DJ Nick writing in.
Man, all our companions are here. That's great.
Yeah, so it's a kind of like a all-star.
Yes, it is.
All-star
Yeah.
email this time. So do you want me to do you want to alternate? I do one, then you do one?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay. So do you want to do Hannah first or you want me to?
I can do Hannah first.
Okay.
All right. Greetings, Charles and Jesse. I thought I'd chime in with my thoughts, Revolution of the Daleks. I want to start off by saying I enjoyed it thoroughly. I do, however, think that the promotional team was somewhat misleading, as it seems like the fam would be on their own for most of the story, while the Doctor had to escape prison.
I totally agree with that, by the way.
Yes.
Because that's how the marketing certainly made it look. Like,
yes.
that the Doctor was stuck in space jail, was going to be there for most of the episode, and it would be up to Jack and the companions to have to save the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
That being said, I was pleasantly surprised how quickly the Doctor and Jack came back to Earth. That is kind of very quickly how quickly they got
really quickly. I thought they would at least
jail.
I thought they would at least stayed there at least a half an hour.
Yeah.
But they're there for in space jail all of 15 minutes and then boom, we're back.
On an embarrassing note, during the scene where Jack and the Doctor reunited, I squeezed so loudly that my parents called from upstairs to make sure I was okay.
Not squeezed.
Yes. Whee! I was
Yes.
right there with you.
Yeah.
I agree, Hannah. I did too.
Yeah.
As a departure for Ryan and Graham, I think this was well done. I'm glad that the decade-plus long tradition of companions being forced to leave, barring Martha, has been broken. We talked about that as well. We were right there with you. I was worried they weren't going to make it when the Doctor didn't stop them from going to blow up the Dalek ship. The plot with the Dalek reminded me a lot of Remembrance of the Daleks.
Hey!
Especially with the part where the Doctor pitted the clones against the bronze ones. I say that both versions were utilized well here. Now, with regard to new companion announcement of John Bishop, I will say that I'm reserving judgment, as the character of Dan hasn't appeared on the screen yet. I will say that, however, I would have preferred if they waited to add another companion until after Yaz left the TARDIS. Yaz was sidelined a lot in the time that Graham and Ryan were around, and I worry that history might repeat itself, especially with a brand new, not established character and with fewer episodes next season. I think by only having two, she's going to get enough screen time. But
I would think so. That's my assessment because, both Amy and Rory, there was two companions there, and that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I understand Hannah's concern. I'm just saying.
I agree. Yeah, but
anyway,
but I think obviously 2 is less than 3, right? So that presumably would give her at least the opportunity for more screen time.
Anyway, I'm running a bit long, so I'll wrap it up here. Keep up the good work and stay safe out there. Best regards, Hannah Scarpia. All right.
Hannah Scarpia, thank you so much for writing in.
We love you, Hannah.
Yeah, you're always great. We definitely appreciated you joining us for the Husbands of River Song commentary that we did, and look forward to you coming back in 2021.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
All
right. So David K. Proctor writes in, Dave, as we call him here, because we're cool like that. Dave writes in about Revolution of the Daleks, saying, I hope everything is going well for all of y'all in this new year. You mean all of us? Yeah. It's good to have new Who. I don't want to be a big downer, so don't misunderstand. Well, it's good because we don't like downers. We like up people. But that's okay. Be who you want to be. That's cool.
Yes.
We respect that. I thought this was a fine episode, but not a great holiday special. It certainly wrapped up some things, and it was good to see Captain Jack again. Thinning out the TARDIS may be a good thing as well. When I look back at some of the big companion groups like Peter Davison and some of the Matt Smith, when you count River, I think it felt like it worked when you had more time, more episodes to build characters.
Fair point.
Yep. It was also good not to have another love affair. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
None of them grew tired like Adric. Well, that says a lot right there, right?
Yes.
They were ready, and it seems right. I guess it means ready to leave. Yeah.
Yes.
The Doctor seems to have survived her crisis of identity. Well, I'm not sure that's over.
Yeah, I don't think so too.
I think it's just beginning, personally.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because there's still so many questions she has. I didn't much care for everyone getting on her case for being gone for 10 months. She was in prison for years, but she didn't tell them that, right?
No, she didn't.
It's a blip on her lifespan, but ask anyone who has been. You don't just shake it off in a day. I wanted her to reiterate that her ordeal was difficult. Yeah, well, maybe she didn't want to bother everybody with her problems.
Right.
So maybe. Just guessing. I wanted her to, let's see, Yaz seemed so messed up that she was gone, and it borders on an obsession. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yes, we do.
Like a substance addiction.
I totally agree.
She's addicted to the doctor, definitely. The doctor may not be doing her any favors by taking her back out. Yeah, I agree. The doctor also has 2 times now gone with solutions that required to allow greater evil and hoping to fix it later. Not a good pattern.
You brought that up, and
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And even, we didn't talk about, but Jack asked her, okay, did you get my message?
Right.
And she goes, well, I
About a
figured it out.
shot at the lone Cyberman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, like, you didn't give a shot I forget what it was, the Cyberium. And she goes, well, actually I did, but it worked out, sorta, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's reassuring, right? Let's see what else he says. As I sit down to write this, a headline read that this is Jodie's last season coming up. I know this about average lately as far as seasons go, but so few episodes. Yeah, because we're only getting 8 episodes because of the shortened season because of COVID restrictions affecting production. So with only 8 episodes left, I'm guessing so many of the things I was hoping for will not happen. I was hoping to see Susan and or River. And we got 8 episodes. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe revisit Jamie or Ian. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Perhaps the next actor will also be a woman or non-binary, but they really need to be ginger. A bigger impact would be a person of color. Let's spin the regeneration wheel and see what happens, I guess. Let's see what comes up.
Yes.
Yeah, so I know a lot of it.
Nice.
Thank you, David K. Proctor. So thanks, Dave.
Yes, absolutely.
Great to hear from you. A lot of fans are kind of wondering, that think it would be great if Joe Martin, the fugitive doctor, became the next doctor.
Yeah.
So I think that would be great, but I don't know if you kind of hinted that she was a previous doctor, so I don't know how that would work, but we'll see.
Timey-wimey, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You'll figure out a way to make it happen if you want it to happen. So
That's right.
That's right.
Guest companion Holly Mack sends us an email.
Hi, Holly.
Charles and Jesse, that's us. First off, Happy New Year to the both of you. Well, Happy New Year to you, Holly.
Happy New Year.
What can I say about this episode? I quite enjoyed it. Love the nod a bit to Star Wars with the galaxy far away, and parentheses, what the actual date and location was. It also seemed a bit of a nod as well to The Watch that aired this past Sunday. Had the same color
Which I did
and
watch,
font
by the way.
tile
I watched The
cards.
Watch.
Yeah. Of course, Jack Robinson would be back and up to no good with the incoming Prime Minister. I was really getting a Darth Vader and Palpatine planning Death Star session between these two. Well, easy for me to say.
Yeah.
But she was really feeling the Star Wars vibe on this.
Yeah.
Poor doctor being stuck in the Jedian prison. It was interesting to see her days went. It was cool to see what other prisons were there. It was nice to see the Topink again.
Patine. Yeah, she typoed it. That's okay.
Yes. I love that for her bedtime story, the Dr. K chose to start telling the story of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Oh, she said philosophy/Sorcerer's Stone. She's covering all her bases, both British and American. It was nice to see Graham, Ryan, and Yaz all working together again to try and find the Doctor. Yaz can do a darn good impersonation of the Doctor, that's for sure. Of course, Leo would try running some experiments and get taken over by the Daleks. Makes me wonder from the opening sequence, was that destroyed Dalek if there wasn't someone that was still under control of a Dalek when the truck driver stopped for a tea break? Captain Jack to the rescue, and of course he would have a vortex manipulator hidden in prison.
Yep.
We don't want to ask how he got it there. That's my statement, not hers.
Well, that was also a callback. Remember? Because
yes.
How she's like, how'd you sneak that in? Yeah. And, that was a nod to, what was it, Bad Wolf?
Yes.
Where, she's like, he was about to get assassinated by that droid. and he was naked, and he pulls out this gun, and she's like, "Where were you concealing that?"
Yes. Loved how Jack griped slightly at the Doctor for complaining about him committing crimes in order to rescue her. That was probably about the smoothest rescue operation ever in an episode of Doctor Who.
Right?
Love the talk that Jack had with Yaz about the Doctor and companions. The ending, man, saying goodbye to Graham and Ryan was tough. Though why do I get the feeling that Graham and Ryan might be starting their own version of Torchwood? Yep. Jack, you may want to look into that when you get some new possible recruits. Love the ending scene with Ryan and Graham on the same hill with Ryan trying to ride the bike, bringing it back full circle to when we first met them back in Series 11. I'm really hoping that the truth comes about Jack Robertson and what he did with the Daleks would serve him right to be brought down a peg or two. I'm really looking forward to finding out more about the new Doctor's new companion for Series 13, Dan. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin. Thank you, Holly, as always.
Thank you, Holly.
Love hearing from you.
Yeah, so you only thought you were getting a short email with Holly. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, ha, nah.
I laugh at you. Ha ha.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. And Hannah Scarappa pointed out on Twitter that she made this great observation about Ryan and Graham when they were doing that final bike ride scene.
Yeah.
They were wearing the exact same clothes they were wearing in The Woman Who Fell to Earth during the bike riding scene.
I did not know that. That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was a great observation. So, see, this is why you need to follow Hannah on Twitter, you guys. I keep telling you.
Yes.
She makes great points. All right, last but certainly not least, we have DJ Nick writing in about Revolution of the Daleks. He goes, "Hey, guys. After the major letdown that was the Wonder Woman 1984 and the uplifting opus that was Soul, I was waiting with bated breath for my all-time favorite TV show to be the deal breaker in this trifecta, and luckily it was more of the latter and less of the former. For an episode 0 of Series 13, this was everything one could hope for in a holiday special, while not being self-indulgent, which can at times be the case. From the appearances of various beloved villains to heart-tugging dialogue, it very much set the tone for what we will be getting going forward. Was a shame to see Ryan and Graham go, but this may very well give Yaz a chance to shine, and I cannot say enough about how excited I am Mr. John Bishop coming to the TARDIS as new companion Dan. I give this 8.5 out of 10 incarcerated weeping angels." Very nice.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
he signs off, "Keep up the great work, you two. Big hugs, stay super, and keep that popcorn hot. DJ Nick." So
Very nice.
thank you, Nick. Nick's obviously, our wonderful co-host on the Phantom Zone, where, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll be coming back soon and talking new episodes, and you should definitely check us out there on the Phantom Zone. We have a ball. All right.
Absolutely.
And always great to hear from you, Nick, and look forward to your return on the show as well. So stay tuned. All right.
So we got four, count them, 4 email feedbacks.
Yes.
But we want more because we're greedy. How can people give us feedback, Charles?
Yeah, it'd be nice to, if we just do an entire episode of nothing but email. I think that would be
I would love
that.
I would make me so happy. We have so much feedback.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we're going to stop now. Click, and now that we're going to have tomorrow an episode of just feedback.
Or we could just do a bonus episode, one or the other.
Absolutely, yes. I would love that.
Either way. So challenge is put out there, I guess, you guys. So if you want to be like Hannah, Dave, Holly, and Nick, and you certainly do, write to us at nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. It's nextstopeverywheresmg for Southgate Media Group @thegmail.com. Or you can reach us on Twitter at nextstopsmg, or Facebook, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, or on Instagram at Next Stop Everywhere podcast. And Jesse, how where can they reach you out there on the interwebs and hear more of your illustrious work?
So you can find me on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can find me on Facebook, Jesse Jackson. I don't do much on Instagram, but I am there. You can hear me on a semi-regular basis on my podcast, How Many, where 4 or 5 of my buddies and I get together and talk about pop culture topics. And coming up, we've got a Dallas Cowboy season ending, and we routinely cover celebrity deaths for the year and other fun topics. But check out How Many. You can hear me on Next Stop you can hear me on Next
This
Stop
is
Everywhere.
Next Stop Everywhere.
Yes, duh. Go look at my code. Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to musical fans from all over the world. I have a new episode coming up with Todd Goldberg coming up, who is a co-writer with Brad Meltzer, which is a really fun episode. We just had.
I know you're a big
Furler.
Brad Meltzer fan.
Yes, I am, and luckily I asked Todd. I'm like, please tell me he's as nice as he seems to be, and he goes, yes, he is. I'm like, good.
See,
yeah,
Jesse,
and,
you need to get Brad Meltzer on our Doctor Who podcast.
Oh, I want that so bad. David Felder is a big Bee Gees fan, and he was just on. Which, if you just watched the Bee Gees documentary on HBO, this is a really interesting to discuss their career and do that. And
I saw that, but I haven't watched it yet. Is it good?
It is really interesting just to hear all the different things they've gone through. And one of the things we discussed, Charles, is he and I shared things when people say, well, I don't like Bruce Springsteen's music. I always want to ask, well, have you listened to anything besides the Born in the USA CD? And he says when people say, I don't like the Bee Gees music, he asks, have you listened to anything besides the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack? Yeah. So that was good. And then coming up, I am so excited about this.
See, the Born in the USA album is my favorite. So
yes, it is. Yes. Oh, great album. Just a lot of people, that's who they think Bruce is.
Right.
Coming up on the Phantom Zone podcast,
yes,
Charles, Nick, and I are going to suburbia. We are going into part Twilight Zone, part Dick Van Dyke Show, part I don't know what the hell we're seeing, but we will be talking new
part
Marvel.
The Truman Show a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, we will be talking about the newest addition to the Marvel Universe TV show, and I cannot wait to talk about
WandaVision. Yeah, we'll be talking WandaVision. So, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. As for me, of course, you can find me at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere, Doctor Who, Torchwood, The Sarah Jane Adventures, Big Finish Audios, and more. All kinds of comic book news, sci-fi news. Just posted these big 2 articles about Doctor Who that just came out this past week. So if you want more information, check those out. And also news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media Group, including, the aforementioned, the Phantom Zone podcast, where, like Jesse said, Nick and I are going to be talking WandaVision here just about a week and a half from now. This episode, this series looks very cool. It's Marvel Cinematic Universe's first TV show for Disney+. So this is kind of a big deal, and it's also going to be setting up things for obviously down the road because, it's Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's all connected. And,
sorry to interrupt, Charles. I just wanted to share with you kind of a nice news. We were watching TV, and Linda saw the preview and said, I don't know why, but that intrigues me. And I said, nothing would make me happier. Do you watch that so that when we're doing the discussion, I could have this is what Linda thinks segment.
Right.
I said, because every once in a while Charles will go, well, you know what Lori thinks. So it sounds like
Lori's watching it with me. So
this will be great.
Okay.
This is going to be so much fun.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I love the fact that Marvel's taking some chances here because, they're kind of, they're making this, if you've seen the trailers, it's very, like at first you think, it's just this Leave It to Beaver thing or Dick Van Dyke Show from the 50s, but it's more. And it's basically it's going to be questioning reality. And, there's obviously a lot more going on there. The government's involved and, like I said, it's obviously the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, it's going to be setting up things. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it probably will surprise some people. Just guessing. So in addition to the Phantom Zone, obviously, Titan Talk to Titans podcast, which is on hiatus, but Jesse, Nick, and I, whenever Titans and Doom Patrol return, and it looks like, both shows are in production now, so hopefully it won't be too much longer before they both return for season 3 on HBO Max, and we'll kind of start that back up. But the off-season response to Titan Talk has been huge. We've gotten over 500 likes on Facebook. And essentially the show, the podcast seems to be on autopilot right now. We seem to be doing just as well when we're not doing episodes as we are when we're doing episodes, which is insane. So hopefully that means when we do start doing new episodes, it's going to be huge. So we'll see. But just thought that was cool, and I want to thank everybody if you've been supporting that. Also, Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast to do with Sam Sprouse, whom you'll hear very soon, here back once again on Next Stop Everywhere, where we talk all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch. And coming up here next week, we're going to be talking at long last David Lynch's 1984 film adaptation of Dune, because we got tired of waiting for Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune. And so we decided, well, hey, we're just going to do our own Dune movie and talk about that. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, so hope everybody checks that out. And then last but certainly not least, Drunk Cinema, where we're going to be, before the year ended, we did Batman 1989, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then Die Hard. And then starting up for our first movie of 2021, we're going to be talking The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, the 1984 cult classic starring Peter Weller, was in RoboCop, and also features great actors like, oh hey, Clancy Brown. I know Ellen Barkin's in this, John Lithgow's in it. Hope everybody checks that out. Zan obviously is great, and we have a ball in that show, and I hope everybody enjoys it. So everybody, thanks again for all the feedback. Come on back next time for episode 214 as we dive into our full-fledged 2021 season by discussing Out of Time 1, the Big Finish audio that came out over during the course of 2020. But I thought it was very notable, and I think it's going to be very interesting to talk about because it's a very special meeting between David Tennant's 10th Doctor and Tom Baker's 4th Doctor.
Ooh.
So two of Doctor Who's biggest doctors finally in the same adventure, finally meeting for the first time. And I think it's going to be a lot of great surprises for everybody who hasn't listened to this. If you want to check it out, go to bigfinish.com. If you don't already have this downloaded, you definitely want to download this one. It's a great audio, and it's pretty short. It's only like a 45-minute one, I believe, but definitely worth it. I listened to it, and I think, Jesse, you're going to really enjoy this one.
I am looking forward to hearing for it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so I know it's your doctor, so right there.
Yeah.
And I know that the David Tennant audios always get a nice reaction from everybody. So I thought this would be a perfect one to start our new year with.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
All right.
Good.
So everybody, thanks again for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. Keep sharing the links. And Jesse, any final thoughts before we go?
I just want to say, as we're recording this, it is a crazy time. And so I just want to say to each of you, please be safe. Remember to social distance. Remember to be good to each other. Wash your hands. Wear an effing mask. And come back here next week and hear more Doctor Who talk.
Yep. Well, hopefully, Jesse, I know it's been a crazy day here, but hopefully talking Doctor Who has lifted your spirits a little bit.
It has. It truly has. And I mean that sincerely.
See, this is why we need to do this, so to kind of lift everybody's spirits. So hopefully we lifted yours as well. And everybody come on back next time, episode 214, Out of Time 1, as we talk Tom Baker and David Tennant meeting at long last, right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody. Happy New Year.
Bye.